We'll be joined live by NBC's Chuck Todd in our next half hour. Right now, Governor Inslee extending the stay home, stay healthy order to May 4th at least. He says our efforts to flatten the curve appear to be slowly working, but it's not enough, not yet. Businesses have to remain closed for at least another month, and people will be required to stay safe at home. The governor acknowledges, I should say, that there will be long-term economic impacts, but it's a decision he calls morally necessary.
I know that we need to think about all of the ramifications of this order. They are a heavy weight on all of us, including myself.
Members of the Washington National Guard are now fighting the coronavirus battle. King 5's Drew Mickelson reports from a food bank where the help is needed.
The Nourish Pierce County Food Bank here in Lakewood has seen a sharp increase in demand since the coronavirus outbreak, and they've seen an equally sharp drop in the number of volunteers. So getting help from the Washington National Guard is just huge for them. This morning, Governor Jay Inslee came by the food bank to check in with some of the National Guard members who the governor activated earlier this week. Currently, they're only helping with food distribution, but they could end up helping on the medical response as well. The governor says there is no need for the Guard to be used for enforcement of his stay-at-home order.
The Guard is providing resources of logistics support. You saw them packing the boxes, they're delivering the food. They're a service delivery model right now.
We are so grateful that they're here. If we had not had them deployed, we would not be able to keep our sites open.
Currently, 130 Washington National Guard members have been activated, but that number is expected to climb over 200 over the weekend as this food distribution help will go statewide. In Lakewood, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
And Governor Inslee was wearing a scarf over his mouth during this morning's tour. He said it was out of respect for others wearing masks. And he says the state has not taken a stance on recommending mask use, but that could be coming from health officials soon. King County now plans to move hundreds of homeless people from shelters to hotels to slow the spread of coronavirus. The county will move about 400 people currently staying in shelters to one of 3 hotels. You're taking a look at 2 of them right now. One is in downtown Bellevue, one is near SeaTac Airport, and one is in Renton. And these hotels will not be open to other guests. Another sign of the coronavirus impact on the economy, the latest jobs report from the U.S. Labor Department shows employers cut 701,000 jobs in March, the most job losses in a decade, as the unemployment rate spiked to 4.4%. And that doesn't even reflect this past week with more layoffs. Before the pandemic, the unemployment rate had been at a 50-year low. Many small businesses are worried they'll never be able to reopen, but help is on the way today with a loan that they might not have to pay back. King 5's Amy Moreno in Seattle's Capitol Hill with more.
Well, this is part of that huge $2 trillion in aid package that came from the federal government. This part of it is called the Paycheck Protection Program. It's $350 billion for small businesses. And what makes these loans so enticing is they don't necessarily have to be paid back if the companies keep paying their employees. Now, this week we talked with David Nelson from Guidant Financial just to get some more information.
So initially they can receive what is 2.5 times their average payroll for the last 12 months, up to $10 million. That's the cap. And as long as over the 8 weeks following that, they're using that for things like payroll and then rent or mortgage if they have a mortgage, and then the associated utilities, then they can have all or a portion of that forgiven.
Nelson tells us those interested in the program should go to the bank that they currently do business with to start the application process, because the Small Business Administration is going to be distributing money through that lender network. And while it's technically a loan, people will be eligible for loan forgiveness if they keep paying their employees. We have a lot more information about this on our website. You can text the word AID to 206-448-4545. Now, the program is set to launch today, but there have been a lot of concerns this week from banks who believe it may not be really ready to go out. They have some concerns about how it's exactly going to work. They say it might be a little bit of a bumpy start, but some of these businesses are already boarded up and say they desperately need this money right away. In Seattle, Amy Moreno, King 5 News.
And with Boeing now offering its employees a voluntary layoff package, a source familiar with the offer tells King 5 it's expected that thousands of employees will accept it. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun wrote a company-wide letter saying its 160,000 employees should prepare for a voluntary layoff package. Their regional plant remains temporarily closed because of how many people got sick and complaints. Across the country, more than 6,000 people have died from the coronavirus, now up to almost 6,700. New York has the highest number of cases. Florida is sixth on that list and has joined more than 30 other states issuing a stay-at-home order, although they're allowing religious gatherings, which of course is very dangerous. Washington state is 10th in terms of the United States. In our state, we've now got 6,500 cases, up more than 500 from Wednesday. 262 people have died, about 4%. It is important to note nearly 80,000 people have tested negative for coronavirus.
What you're giving us is not enough. It's not appropriate because we're still getting infected. We're still passing the virus to our patients.
Healthcare workers at New York City's Mount Sinai Hospital are demanding more protective measures. You can see nurses and doctors holding a demonstration outside the hospital this morning, begging for more personal protective equipment like masks.
What does that mean when we spend more on healthcare in this country than any other country, and we can't even get our frontline medical providers the protective equipment that they need?
They're also calling for free testing for workers who have been exposed to the virus or who have symptoms. Cover Your Face is about to become official guidance to protect millions of Americans. NBC's Tracy Potts has the new advice from the White House.
Overnight, we learned that in the next few days, the White House will follow California and New York City and issue new guidance to Americans in coronavirus hotspots. Cover your face, wear a mask.
But don't get a false sense of security that that mask is protecting you exclusively from getting infected.
This as Washington begins to offer $350 billion in small business loans today.
These loans are up to 100% forgivable as long as employers keep paying their workers. Got to take care of your workers.
Workers filed a record 10 million jobless claims in the last 2 weeks. Healthcare workers still on the job are stressed.
This is too much. I don't know how much longer I could do this.
Protective gear and equipment in some places nearly gone.
I need gowns and I need face shields, and I needed them a week ago.
We have about 6 days of ventilators in our stockpile.
President Trump is skeptical.
Hospitals have 3 ventilators, big hospitals, and they get by with it. And now they want thousands. I mean, they want thousands of ventilators. You call up a governor and they'll say, sir, could you send us 40,000 ventilators? Nobody has ever heard of a thing like this.
Direct payments to hospitals also start today to cover the cost of treating the uninsured.
And President Trump is now doing what Democrats have been urging him to do, using the Defense Production Act on more companies. On Twitter, he called out 3M, saying the company's making face masks, but the government was surprised at something they were doing in selling those masks. He didn't specify what that was. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
12:08 now, back here at home, another look at neighbors helping neighbors. So the Bellevue office of a California startup wellness company called Trilogia has sourced thousands of medical respiratory masks from China and already distributed at least 10,000 of them to local hospitals, including Seattle Children's, Tacoma General, Harborview, Swedish, and Virginia Mason. And they managed all of this with a local staff of just 8 people. King 5's Margaret Larson spoke with the leaders from the startup and Virginia Mason.
So we created a funding account. We kind of stopped work on the startup that we're launching in April. So it was like, okay, we're going to take a week off. We're going to make up for time later, but right now the urgent need is to help people. And so that's what we've been doing. And we were able to raise $20,000 over 3 days and put in an order of 10,000 masks at first and then another 10,000 on the way.
So we're at Virginia Mason. There's a lot of people here unloading some supplies, which is awesome. And we'll just walk over our masks.
These donations are making a remarkable difference for us, and they are helping us not only today, but also as we look to the future for this anticipated surge of patients.
So I would just say, if it's VM or any hospital, the fire department, right now we are definitely in need, and thank you so much for your support.
Trilohia reports they've now raised more than $45,000 and are sending materials to California and New York. Our local hospitals have donation lists posted on their websites, and they're accepting financial contributions to help with the supply shortages as well. All of the donated materials are tested for safety before they are used.